Hey everyone, welcome back to Barcast TV and to another episode. Today we are going to be narrating through one of my 1v1s versus none other than Pro Andy here, or R Andy as he's otherwise known. I'm going to take you through some of my thought processes getting through the Tech 1 phase, and then a follow-up video to this would be going through like transitioning to T2 and how that differs from the T1 phase. So let's get it right into it. This is going to be played on Prismatic Anomaly here, a solar map. So a little bit different than like your standard like wind map. Before we get too far into it, just a note on the spawning position here. There's 3 different spawning positions we can choose from. Of course, we've covered this a few times. You want to be... I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to each of them, but I like the center spawn right here because you have these like equal expanding paths to all across the map, right? So really, ideally in 1v1s, you want to be splitting the map in half and then transitioning to T2 or like economy. Like there's a bunch of stuff, there's stuff you have to do before that. But I think the long and the short of it is like, yeah, split the map in half, get to T2 and then take the game from there. So we're going to be spawning in this middle position. I like that. We're going to be opening bots just because it's a large map. So I think having the ticks for vision and then a few pawns for a little bit of harassment is what I want to be going for. As far as like what my thoughts on Andy's tendencies, he likes to play vehicles. I notice he goes like 2 scouts before con, so we should be seeing those like fairly soon into the game. And of course, this is a very standard open: 3 mechs, 2 solars into a bot lab. It's gonna let us balance our economy right here. Before we get too far into it, if you guys like the video, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see more of. This is something I've been. This is just a style of video I've been asked to do a few times, so I'm finally getting around to it. And yeah, here we go. So we're going to be opening con first. Actually, 3 cons into 6 ticks. It's just a large map, so I wanted to get away with a little bit of greed here. And I'm building up this extra build power in my main base because I'm going to be expanding with my commander this way and then that way and then into the middle of the map. So don't want to get too far up here to take these. Although I am kind of, talking out loud here, this is just a nice place for some walls here, here, and here. The map is so large, you can build up some walls in these areas and kind of prevent run-bys and force your opponent into the middle of the map. So you can see I had to add on an additional 2 solars to just balance my solar economy here. I've got a little bit of extra metal in the bank and I'm running low on energy, I will be stalling eventually. So I just add another solar here. Maybe I didn't actually really need that because this con comes out and gives us a little extra energy. And then of course, from the bot lab, the cons are the most energy expensive, like early unit. I mean, Centurions are very energy expensive, but I think I could have gotten through that little bit of low energy in my bar by just kind of just waiting for this third con to come out. But there we go. So we move into our ticks. Ideally, what I'm doing is I'm going to be moving those across the map to try and get vision. As soon as I see these scouts, though, I'm going to be kind of pulling them back to defend myself. And one thing to note in this like early harassment phase where you're trying to defend yourself, you don't really want to be chasing the scouts down. You want to be putting your ticks or whatever defensive unit you have by your mexes to defend them, right? It's not about killing the scouts. It's about defending yourself. So we see a little bit of, I'm just putting a little bit of a wall right here. It doesn't take too long. Walls build super fast. And I just want to block off this little lane here for scouts to prevent scouts from rotating. I think I actually add another little wall right here to do the same thing. I'm just seeing more scouts here. So yeah, not trying to run my ticks into the scouts. Scouts actually are pretty good against ticks if they're microed well. And Andy's got, A+ scout micro. You can see he's doing a really good job kind of avoiding everything. I do end up kind of cornering him, so I take off 1 and then I should be backing up. Yeah, I don't really want to be chasing those down. So we're feeling comfortable now. I've thought it would be okay to add on an additional 2 cons here, because one thing you want to note when you're playing bots versus vehicles is just the amount of build power vehicle players can get in their main base. It's a lot easier for them to build up build power and frankly expand with it than when you're playing bots versus vehicles. So you want to stay on even keel with this. Like, see, he already has, what is this, 180 plus another 90 here, so that's 270. So what are bots? cons are only like 80. So I'm just trying to, you know, match this. He has his commander's 300 build power expanding. I'm going to be sending another con out. So I'm, I guess, a little bit farther ahead in terms of expanding build power. But yeah, always want to be building this up quickly and in the early game. So we're going to go add on an additional 2 cons. See this, we should be able to defend ourselves, right? We have got 4 ticks over here. We've got some pawns and ticks here. He still just has the 4 rovers kind of sharking around. And that's all we're trying to do is just defend ourselves in this early game. Eventually it'll be a little bit different because he's going to be fielding some medium tanks, or sorry, light tanks. And that's just a little bit different to defend yourself against. But yeah, you want to be... I'm sending these 2 pawns across to try and find some harassment. I still don't know where he is yet, but one thing to note when you are sending these pawns out is you want to escort them with the vision, right? Because they're really not good without the vision here. I think I make a little bit of a micro mistake there, losing that 1 tick to the blitz, but no big deal. Kind of getting a sense of where he's at. I'm still not sure. I think he might be over here, but eventually I will find out where he's spawned at. Still just expanding with the commander. One thing to note on these solar maps is you can just kind of sprinkle in solars with your commander as you're moving. So something to note. And we're doing an okay-ish job balancing our eco. We're kind of like at a deficit right now. So you can see we're completely stalling on metal. So normally in this case, if you have your commander still in your main base, you can set them on low priority so that your expanding cons can put your what metal you do have into taking these mexes, but I don't have to worry about that because my commander is picking up the mexes. And maybe kind of something I could have done a little bit differently here was just like add on a few more ticks here while to get over this little like metal stall. You can see this this solar is a little ambitious. Don't quite need that yet. And one thing to note we didn't mention, but we did get up this radar in our main base. It's not completely ideal, but it's definitely better than nothing. And then, of course, something you want to do is just add on radars with your expanding cons, right? So we've got 3 radars so far, decent coverage, and we'll be continuing to doing that. I think I want to add like another radar there. If I expand up here, I'd want to add another radar up here. So we're still just trying to defend ourselves from this early game. You can see we've got stuff on the left side, stuff on the right side. Got a couple of units protecting our expanding con and radar. Notice how kind of chasing these down. This is not what you want to do. Yeah, I see he was able to get in here. I think he gets this, maybe? Not sure, but yeah. Just keep your units by what you want to protect instead of chasing down those scouts, because a good player will just kind of shake and bake you. And meanwhile, on the other side of the map, still trying to harassing. I see that his main base is there. I don't want to run into the LLT, so I'm just going to keep these units off to the side, look for an expanding con. I'm doing the same thing on this side. And I want to say I did notice his commanders in the middle of the map. So just something to note, kind of avoid that for now. And you would anticipate there being a lot of extra LLTs being constructed there. So got LLT radar mechs here. Don't normally want to make these LLTs, but he's... because it slows you down so much. It takes 22 seconds to make the LLT. Kind of slow yourself down. But on the other side of the map, with my commander, just making the single LLT to protect the 3 mexes, making a solar here to balance out the eco, and then I'm doing another thing. I'm going to walk in front of this position, make the wall, and then go and expand over here. Meanwhile, back in the main base, kind of missed it here, but we did put down this construction turret, which is just kind of playing into the same fact as you want to match your build power or try and keep up with the vehicle player's build power. We see Andy is still sitting on 270. He's got another 90 coming out. So putting it up to 360 build power. Actually kind of exceeding him in that regard here. Got 4 cons assisting the lab. I've got 1 scaling energy underneath of this construction turret. So kind of good practice to start that. I like to say you have your 4th con, start scaling energy. But for now, I'm pretty comfortable. I would start thinking about adding an extra con to expand into the mid. That's what we see going on right now. And then here, oh goodness. Sorry about that. I was sitting in the lobby. Yeah, so like as I was saying, get another con expanding. You want to go up to about 3 cons. That's ideal. On a map this large, 3 cons expanding is kind of where you want to be. And I'm still trying to find some harassment damage on the other side of the map. So just want to shave off this radar. Did a little misclick there on the set target. But on the other side of the map, I am being raided by these blitzes. So instead of losing the con, I see them on the radar and I just pull it back to here, right? Instead of losing it to those blitzes on the other side of the map. Still have these units over here sharking around looking for an expanding con. I've got some pawns. I'm going to try and dive on this, but he was really sharp getting in position there. So I'm just going to take out the LLT, the radar, and then back up. And at a certain point, you would want to start thinking about making a kind of transition here. So still trying to build up that build power. So I got a second construction turret up here sitting on 30 metal income. And around like 30 metal income per second. So I got a little raid in the main base here. 30 metal income per second and around 500 energy per second, you would want to start thinking about making some kind of transition, whether or not it's to vehicles or air. I want to say I end up going second vehicles here, but we'll see what actually ends up shaking out. One thing to note about that decision, though, you can see he's making an LOT, about just the difference between like going second lab as vehicles or second lab as air. They have their advantages and disadvantages. I say if like you're a newer player, maybe under 40 OS, you would want to go lean towards second vehicle lab, just because it's easier to put like that metal on the board in terms of units, which you want to leverage and defend yourself with, try and harass. But the good thing about going second air has a lot of advantages, of course. Like I think it's best to just go scout first and send it right across the map and see what your opponent is doing, as opposed to doing something like a kind of disguising like a bombing run or gunships, something like that. But yeah, the advantages of air, of course, is like getting good scouting information, defending yourself from bombing runs and gunships, right? Which seems kind of like in fashion right now. And then, of course, you can have access on these large maps to the air cons, which you'll see me using a lot in this game. Actually, Andy uses those quite a bit himself. And on large maps like this, the air cons serve two purposes, of course, like taking these peripheral mexes. So three purposes, rather. Taking these really far away mexes, if like, say, an expanding con gets taken out. They're really good at putting up radars, because radars don't take a lot of build power to make. That's more just getting them in the right position. And then, of course, diving on reclaim fields. So air cons are also have a lot of utility in just trying to pick up reclaim. So pick your poison. I think I actually end up going second air here, just because I know Andy likes to go second air for gunships. And looks like this pawn gets taken out by that LLT. And here we are. So just trying to put units. You can see what I'm doing here, right? Units on the left side. Let me try and explain this a little more. I'll pause it for a second. A lot of times in 1v1s, you'll have like several lanes that you'll need to contest simultaneously. So I have units on the right side defending against these blitzes. I want to get some pressure in units on the left side, so I'm sending some of those there now. And I should, after that, be reinforcing and putting units in the middle. And you always just want to be like sending units to each of these kind of all at the same time. If you notice you need a few more units on the right side, send them to the right side. If you need pressure on the left, send them to the left. But you're always like kind of just trying to fill these three lanes up with units as you see fit. And of course, I see this LLT here. So surprisingly enough, his commander's expanded quite a ways down there. So now that I finished expanding to the left side, like we said, we're moving our commander to mid. That's where I want him to be, like, making LLTs, kind of contesting the battlefield. Andy is just madman with these LLTs, so kind of a blunder there, throwing some pawns away for free, but did manage to take out one LLT. So I can see with some blitzes in the middle, so I'd want to start thinking about reinforcing that position. I did sprinkle in a few grave robbers here. I did notice, like, okay, so there's some reclaim over here, some wrecks, so I'm going to start getting those out on the board. And these become better and better as the game goes on, so in terms of, like, rezzing units, resbots are actually insane. If you didn't get the memo, picking up units or rezzing units doesn't cost metal. It costs half the energy it takes to produce. And then, funnily enough, resbots have 200 build power, so it's like a con turret just making units wherever they are. It's kind of good, so please make them. And like we said earlier, yeah, units on the right side, units on the left side, trying to harass these expanding cons, or try and find them at least, and then force Andy, to kind of reciprocate that and put units left and right instead of just going right towards mid, which is what he's doing now. So I noticed all these LLTs in mid, and that triggers me to make just a few rocket bots. I want to start putting pressure on those. I've gone up to 4 con turrets now, or excuse me, 3 con turrets. Kind of over making energy at the moment. We see we've accessed a little bit over, oh, just under 10%, which isn't terrible. But accessing energy on solar maps is way worse than accessing energy on wood maps, just because it's so much more expensive to produce those. So meanwhile, on this side of the map, I catch out these 2 expanding cons. I think I get both of them, and I'm trying to defend myself against this pack of blitz, right? Which he did a good job of kind of shaking me out there. I wasn't able to catch that. Ideally, you would want to move your units kind of in between. You always want to be moving your units like in between the army and your main base, because like this is like worst case scenario, right? He could actually kind of dive back here and try and find some damage. So I'm trying to pull some pawns down to defend myself in that regard. Got my commander in mid. I'm just trying to take out LLTs where I can, trading out a little bit of HP for that, but I don't mind kind of cutting off this lane from reinforcements. And then, of course, these raids got their damage, right? They got the 2 cons over here. I spotted this mech, so there should be a con over here, but he did a great job of kind of defending this with his own blitz. So he did trade out these blitzes for it, though. So now those res bots can get even more value. So I'll pick up these units over here, and then I should come back and grab these. I'd actually prioritize maybe picking up these just because there's so much more metal here, and it's easier to kind of pick that up more quickly just if the units are condensed together. So I spot this right over here. That means reinforce that side. I'm cleaning up over here, so I don't have that's not cleaning up. I'm harassing over here on this side, so I'm feeling a little more protected over here. So that lets me like that would mean like put units into the middle and put units over here. I also really want to get my rocket bots to mid, and that's why I am kind of moving them to my commander. And I did put up these LOTs so they can like, you know, get their value over here. And if I need to, I can retreat back to the LOTs because the rocket bots aren't really good at holding their own versus those blitzes. They're just too fast. They get on top of them too quickly. And I see those radar signatures over here. So I should be reacting to that and sending units. Yeah, doing that now. These are going to take too long to get there, so I second guess myself, and then I send these units because I can get there a little bit at a better angle. And now we're in mid with our rocket bots and kind of shaving that off. And we're still finding some harassment. So I've got this on fight move, trying to clear up that con. And he did a good job of harassing over here. He picked off 2 mexes. Still finding damage, and that would trigger me to make a couple more res bots now that these went down. I would also kind of think about maybe preemptively, just if I saw these units on the radar here and I knew I wasn't able to defend these mexes, you would want to like kind of preemptively already have a con or a res bot walking that way to kind of pick those up. Meanwhile, in mid with my commander, I'm still just doing the same thing. I'm just adding on LLTs and radars where I can. Taking mexes, I cleared out these LLTs, so I'm going to pick those up and then area reclaim. I think still trying to pick off some LLTs. I spotted these units over here with my ticks and res scouts, so I'd want to start sending some units that way. This is a bit overkill, sending this big pack of pawns, but that could end up just turning into pressure, excuse me, once I get over there. So yeah, more and more trading's been going on, so I make a couple of res bots here. I can send those left and right and even into mid, so start reclaiming or resing, picking up structures. And yeah, just using these on fight move, that's how you get them to kind of stay out of range of those LLTs and get their value. And then still on radar, I can see these units going left. That means I would want to go left, reinforce that position. You can see I'm doing that now. We got units on the right that are going to turn into a raid here. And then, yeah, these res bots came back here and they're kind of doing their magic. So we got res bots on the right side, res bots in mid, right? Just getting that value. At a certain point, you would want to stop resing instead of like, and turn it into reclaim. Because like you always want to be transitioning in a sense, right? And now we're at this point in the game where it's still like the game's in flux. Things are happening, like raids can get through. You're still putting up LLTs and radars everywhere, so you want to continue resing. If you're thinking about making some kind of transition, I would say then that's when you want to start reclaiming. Whether it's not like you want to get up another air lab, you want to move into T2 yourself. But here we can see back at the main base, I've got 5 con turrets. I did go into vehicles here. I'm skipping blitz. I just want to go right into medium tanks. Because like speaking of transitions, medium tanks do a good job of countering blitzes just because they have a little bit of splash damage. They're a lot tankier. Okay. And at a certain point, I would want to start thinking about going air. This is a nice raid, actually. I didn't catch that. I should have put a radar right here, or a radar right here to kind of find out where that's at. But still trying to lock down the map here, adding on some additional walls. Nice thing, I have some res bots here in position to kind of pick this up. So I'm putting units down there to defend myself. These blitzes will get cleaned up, so the res bots are going to be there. Got a big pack of units on this side of the map, and we're still adding on solar. So what is this? You just kind of do this as you need it, right? Just always be looking at this bar and see, okay, it's a low. If I've added on extra contour, it's just add on some solar. I do have a sense to move into some A solars here. You want to get into those before you make some kind of transition. And I find another expanding con. Do I end up getting that? No, I want to target these blitzes so I end up getting it. So I can come back and get the con, right? And then I actually just reclaim this this construction bot. So a little bit of a citizen's arrest there. So this is where I noticed the gunships, and then I'm like, oh crap. So those are going to get a lot of damage. So what I would do in this position is just make a couple of anti-air towers. So if I had a con here, I'd make one there. I think I would want to make one there. Make one in the main base, make one over here if I had a con. And then I try and get into a lab, right? So I put down the air lab. I immediately start reclaiming the bot lab here. That's going to let me pay for this. And then I go right into Fig production to defend myself against these scouts or banshees, right? Which he's doing a good job of getting damage. And then, of course, also preemptively moving cons to that position, right? So before my scout or Figs are even out, I'm trying to move a con that way, trying to move a con this way, and then move a con that way because I'm anticipating losing mexes everywhere. So I'm just trying to get these units in position while harassing. This is not the best move here for LLTs and just running the pawns in first. I should put the medium tanks in first and then with the pawns behind them. So not the best micro. See, there's even more LLTs back behind there, but I'm just trying to like shave Andy out of this area, right? And I already have some res bots here, which is really nice. So see, I'm making an anti-air turret with my commander. These are doing a nice job defending. And this is where I'd start thinking about making some air cons, right? To start furthermore, like putting up radars that got taken out. Putting up mexes that got taken out. They're much faster at traveling to those. And let me turn the sound down. That's a little loud. So we're going to run this video to the T where I'm going to be making the T2 transition. So you can see still trying to balance eco, right? Maybe not the best time to make an A solar here. It's barely not stalling, so it does end up going up pretty efficiently. But one thing to note is that Figs cost about as much energy as a construction turret, which are very expensive. So still trying to shave off units. I run away from the blitzes and just clear out these LLTs and radar and then back up. I found Andy's commander, which is right here. So nice position. He got some good D guns off, but there's a good amount of reclaim here. So I'm not trying to res it. I'm just trying to scoop it up here and then add on LLTs with my commander to try and secure that reclaim field. So I took care of the banshees. I'm picking up these mexes, right? One's near my main base. I've got this con over here, grabbing these mexes. There's an idle con, but he should be, grabbing this mex, maybe reclaiming over there. I got another con, just, more of the same. Probably would have been better to add add the radar there first. That's something you want to do is like when you move into an area, add that radar first and then take the mexes. So that'll save you some trouble. More of the same, right? It's just moving units into like those 3 lanes, like we said, moving units here, here, and here, right? So defend yourself, and if there's nothing to defend against, then you move them forward to harass. If you see too much there, then you just back up, right? So more of the same, getting into some vehicle cons now. I just have the stouts on repeat, and if I feel like I'm low on build power, I'll just add in a few of these expanding cons, or just rather more like build power cons. And he's moved into medium tanks himself, so this is where things can get a little dicey. Medium tanks are much more difficult to micro against than like other raiding units because they have such a high HP pool. You really need to stay on top of your micro to defend yourself. So got more medium tanks over here trying to harass this side of the map. I found an expanding con, so I want to say it'd be better to kind of move one tank back to defend that, but instead I moved all of them. just to try and spread out. And I have these gunships harassing me, so I move my figs into position. So the micro you want to do to defend yourself, basically you always fight move figs around. That's like the only micro you need to do. And figs do splash damage, in case you didn't know, so stacking them up against enemy figs is not what you want. And I even spot the air con here, so this is something Andy loves. That's actually a great pickup, picking that off, so... more harassment over here. I need to get some units to defend myself. There's a single blitz right there. I caught a couple of stouts with my commander. And we're still doing more of the same, right? Just moving units into position. I was trying to get value with these rocket bots, which actually got insane value, I want to say. Yeah, 12 kills off of these 4, so not bad. And then still finding some damage over here. And I'm not thinking about a transition yet. Like, the game is still in flux. I'm getting raid. There's raids here, 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 right? I see him a little, like, outclassed, or he has more units in mid than me. So I want to just continue making medium tanks until I feel safe and content, right? These resbots got taken out, so I'm just picking up this metal with my con and then moving back to the main base. Trying to harass over here. I end up stopping fig production, I want to say at some point, just because I don't think he's really like putting resources into figs. Still poking forward, backing up. I'm missing a radar here in mid. So I'd want to get a radar back up there. See, I'm making one of my commander right now. Excuse me. And still picking up mexes that get taken out. Yeah, see, like this is just another thing that happened, right? This con that we sent earlier to pick up mexes that were taken out by the Banshees got killed, and then I was under threat from more blitzes, so I just reinforced that with another vehicle con, right? And we'd be doing the same thing. Like this vehicle con would want to be going this way, another vehicle con that way. Mid looks fine, so maybe I could send two here, but I'm picking these mexes up with my commander. And then this right here, I should be picking up this mex, right? So I'd be like reclaim, add the mex, and then go back to the main base. See more of the same, right? So there's cons like everywhere, right? Con here, here. And this is what you want to do, is just have build power to put up LLTs, radar, and recap your mexes, right? So see a big group of medium tanks on the left side. I would want to be getting in position to defend myself against those. I'm moving my figs back. And then here we start adding on some air cons. So I feel comfortable with my air control. And I want to add on some air cons to pick up mexes and to pick up reclaim. So see the first one's out. We'll have to see where we send that out. Pick off another 2 cons. That's a big pick off. Harassing with these rocket bots, which it's missing a radar here to spot for those signatures. And yeah, so there's a big harassment going down in mid. Pull that back. That was a little bit of a blunder. I could have saved that con. And just tanks everywhere, right? I'm actually kind of looking at my radar coverage. I'm missing some stuff. Yeah, I just have these 3 radars rather. So I'm missing a radar here. I'm trying to pick one up right over here. So like, notice the first thing I'm doing is adding the radar, then the mexes, then the LOTs. And now that we've lost some more mexes, I'm sending a con over here to pick these up. I'm sending another con. I've got my air cons adding on these mexes here. And still trying to raid, right? So not the best work. This should be making a radar to over here to spot for everything. I've got some units moving in on this side. So once again, this is a little slow, but I'm moving units over there to defend myself. And still not thinking about the transition. Notice how I'm pooling up a little bit of metal. So and I have a full E-bar. So I'd want to add on a few more, a bit more build power, right? And you can see I've added a few of those, still adding on more air cons, right? So we've got 2 over here, 2 over there, right? And these are all just on area reclaim. So just trying to pick up that metal as fast as I can. Still trying to defend myself over here versus the medium tanks. I got medium tanks over here I got to worry about. Medium tanks here. And then it's more of the same, right? Like, oh, I've lost these mexes, so I'd want to be sending cons that way to pick that up. Which is what this con is doing here. Instead of going forward, I'm coming back to defend. Commander's in mid, still doing his thing, just adding on radars and LLTs as I need them. Still have some figs kind of patrolling around. This is a nice little harassment, actually. Andy he's doing a really good job, frankly. Like, this is kind of hard to deal with. Like, there's just tanks, medium tanks everywhere. is not ideal. And then of course LLTs lose a lot of utility once the medium tanks start coming out because they're so tanky, and I think they like 5-shot an LLT. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, 7 shots. Excuse me. But here things, you know, it might look like I'm in a bad position here, but I don't feel too uncomfortable, right? I've got the air cons like reclaiming. I've got air cons making mexes. I have some build power out here. More metal over here, more air cons tapping mexes, right? So I think I'd want to send like maybe a con this way to expand, maybe a con over here to like pick up this metal and expand, right? But I don't feel pressured with gunships. I have a healthy amount of fighters, and notice how I'm like keeping them like back here in a line. I think that's just like the fighter screen I have. Well, that's hard to look at. Scouting these, put those on fight moves so they clear those expanding cons out. This lane here, I have units to defend, right? So I send what's left of my tanks to mid, and then I'm sending these tanks here to the right side. So once again, more the same. Left, right, and center. Trying to defend myself. See, he's got an air con right here. Trying to, you know, scramble to pick up metal, and I'm you know, we're doing the same moves, right? I would run to reinforce this here, but yeah, trying to pick up. So here I'm actually, maybe I'd start considering doing a T2 transition. And that's actually what we did, right? So I was like, all right, I have enough medium tanks out. The harassment's over. I have good amount of figs, right? Had metal in the bank, healthy energy economy. So I reclaimed the vehicle lab and put up this lab. So that's where we'll end it here. We'll follow it up with another video. This one ran a little bit longer than I wanted to, but that's the T1 phase, or kind of my thoughts when I was playing this game. And hope you guys enjoyed it. So hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the part 2 where we talk about the T2 transition and that part of the game. So hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.